Let's go back up and do example 2 now. Just looking at the function, you should always start and just kind of think about what it should look like. The negative tells me it should open upside down, so it's going to open downward. And the y-intercept is going to be at 12. So noticing that I have such a large y-intercept, if I want to put it on my graph, I may not go by ones here. I'm going to find all my points and then decide what I want to do. Because if I have a y-intercept at 12 way up here and it opens downward, the vertex is going to be off my graph. So I want to find my points before I start graphing this time. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the x value of my vertex. So x equals the opposite of b over 2a. On this problem, my a is the number in front of x squared, so it's -1. The b is the number in front of x, so it's +1. And the c is 12. That's my y-intercept. So I'm going to have the opposite of 1 over 2 times -1. So I have -1 over -2, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this time I've got a half for the x value of the vertex. Now, I told you to try something smaller and something bigger, but because this is a fraction, we're gonna try to make this as easy as possible on ourselves. So we'll fix that when we get to that. But I need to go ahead and find the y value of my vertex. So I'm gonna go back and put the x value in for x and see what I get for y. So I'm gonna have y equals -1/2 squared plus 1/2 plus 12. 1/2 squared, you square the 1 and you square the 2, so that's -1/4 plus 1/2 plus 12. -1/4 plus 1/2, that would be +1/4 plus 12. A fourth plus 12 is 12.25 if you want to write it as a decimal. So I could go one smaller and one bigger, and I would end up at -1/2 and +3/2, but I want to try to make these easier numbers to work with, so I'm just going to go a half a unit away this direction so that I have a whole number. So I'm going to go to 0, and then I'm going to go a half a unit in this direction because I want to go the same distance. So a half a unit this direction would put me at 1. Now I have whole numbers to work with in my formula. So I'm going to go back and put a 0 in for x. And I know what the answer should be if it's my y-intercept. So I have -0 squared plus 0 plus 12. This all just becomes 0 plus 12, which is 12. And then if I put 1 in, I have -1 squared plus 1 plus 12. 1 squared is 1, make that negative, is -1 plus 1, that's 0, 0 plus 12 is 12. So I know that I'm going to go at least up 12 and 12.25 in some place, so I'm going to go by 2's along the y-axis. And I don't mind that you label all of them. I would just label one place to show that you're going by 2's. So if I go by 2's here, I'm going to go by 2's here. This is going to make it a little tricky when we want to do 12.25, but we'll figure it out here. So this is my vertex. So I'm going to go over a half. A half of the box would be 1, so it's a half of a box. And then I'm going to go up to 12.25. So this would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 0.25 would kind of be in here somewhere. So my vertex is at 1/2, 12.25. That's this point right here. The point on each side is going to be at 1, which is a half a box, and up here at 12, and 0, 12. So this thing looks something like this. And we always want to draw our parabola so that it crosses the other axis and put arrows in the end to show that it keeps going, it doesn't stop there. The axis of symmetry, the place where this thing would fold over on top of itself, is at x equals 1/2. Now the ones on your homework I don't think will all be this hard. This one's kind of, it's not difficult, it's just the fact that you end up with decimals and fractions.
Do you want to write your vertex and
Where?
axis of symmetry?
Yep, my vertex is at 1/2, 12.25, And the axis of symmetry is x equals 1/2, and that's this line right here.